What's up, buttercups? Hello, my little twinkle darlings. I am Brian McWilliams here with Mean Age Daydream, your beautiful bald host. Just noticing StreamYard's got an interesting setup, which I didn't set. There we go. Well, still the same. I don't know. StreamYard, always pain in the ass. Speaking of pain, I am dealing with a thrown out back on top of missing the show last week. Apologies for that. As I mentioned on my Twitter, I had dental work done and my entire head was numb. Like it's right here in the front. I had to get some replacements done because I knocked my damn tooth out. And currently I'm waiting to get them filled in fully. But I was so numbed up, I couldn't talk, couldn't even think with all the Novocaine coursing through my veins last week. So apologies for missing that show. And then this show, I'm dealing with a thrown out back, which is always the way you want to do your show. Fun times for all. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm here for you people. I can't miss 2 weeks in a row. So let's get into it. Reminder, guys, we have multiple shows you can get through on our Patreon. Good Morning Fuckhead Rants. We've got our Degenerate Gambler show. We've got Meme Wars. So much more at patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. And also Woke Word Wars, my new board game, or actually say card game, a tabletop game, which is a fun party game. Cards come out kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but better. And you can get that now. It's on Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can find it. But you can also go to wokewordwars.com. It is a hoot. So please support that. Great Christmas gift. Great time to play it. What with family events coming up. Okay. Getting into it. So I titled this show the Real War for Christmas, but you'll remember that many years ago, this is probably 10 or 12 years ago, the entire movement, again, led by the left, because everything shitty in life is always led by the left, the movement came through to say happy holidays rather than Merry Christmas, because even though America is still a Christian nation, or, however you want to say it, let's say Christian, Catholic, whatever, the predominant population still celebrates Christmas, and even those who aren't fully celebrating Christmas, like myself, still, aren't practicing Catholics like myself. Raised Catholic, no longer. But I celebrate Christmas because it's great for kids. It's a good time to get together, to say you love each other, to give gifts, and really to take in some fantastically beautiful decorations, the lights, the trees, the ornaments, the music. It's a great time. The left said this was intolerant because people saying Merry Christmas made those who didn't celebrate feel bad, to which I say, get over yourself. I mean, get over yourself, honestly. But that was called the war on Christmas, right? This emphasis to not say Merry Christmas, to say Happy Holidays. There were moves to take down Christmas trees in airports because that was offensive. Now, a lot of that has swung back the other way. We now see Christmas trees in airports and in shopping marts again. It is accepted that this is not a bad thing and that this was an overreaction by the left for no fucking good reason, and that most people genuinely enjoy Christmas. Fast forward now to 2025, almost 2026, and we're seeing an entirely different war on Christmas and a far more legitimate war on Christmas. Now, specifically what I'm referring to is what has become a problem where if you don't acknowledge it, you're simply insane. You simply have no beat on reality, which is a mass migration that has happened over the past 5, 7, 10 years, predominantly in the European countries, but also here in the United States, of Muslim immigrants coming in. And these are coming in mass. They're coming in, and a lot of these people, have I cited this before, a lot of these people are still getting public funds spent on them. They're still getting the benefit of welfare programs. They have zero interest in acculturating. And that is really coming to bear, as you see in Germany, in Sweden, I'm trying to think the other one, in France, in the UK, in Scotland, in Ireland, in Austria, where they have these massive Christmas festivals. In the UK, for instance, they have a giant street. They decorate it. It used to be called Christmas decorating, but now it is a holiday or a holiday festival, something like that, a festive time of year street. So they've removed the Christmas out of it. But the reason is because you've seen a massive uptick because of this non-acculturated emphasis from these Islamic people that are coming into the country, an emphasis on, okay, we're going to try to diffuse the bomb that is this culture clash by trying to shy away from saying Christmas. You're seeing in Germany and in Austria, which I spent time in Austria, gorgeous. I went there for the Austrian Economics Conference, which I highly recommend to anybody. And they have the Christmas marketplaces set up. Now, when I went there, this is probably 6 years ago, but they didn't have security barriers set up everywhere as they do now. All these Christmas marketplaces have massive police presence. They have fences up. They have barricades up. There was one, I believe it was in Germany, that actually had shut down the Christmas marketplace because there were threats from the Muslim community against this, essentially terrorist threats that there was going to be violence. Now, this is a problem because not only are you, number one, capitulating to terrorists, which is, of course, the goal of terrorism in the first place, but two, you're acknowledging that this is a war between cultures and that for all of these people that are professing that diversity is our strength and that you need to have open immigration and that these people are simply coming here for a better life and they want to be part of your country, well, it's just not true. Flat out, it's not true. Maybe the part about wanting a better life is because a lot of the countries they're coming from are definitely far worse off than Western countries, which makes it even more perplexing when they come here and try to change the culture to theirs, kind of like when people from blue states move to red states and then vote for all the progressive garbage that got their blue state in the tragic situation it's in. But the acknowledgement that these immigrants do not want to acculturate. They are here to conquer. And you see this playing out in all of these European Union nations. You're seeing it with marches in the streets. And there was just one here domestically in Dearborn, Michigan. I think this guy's name is Jake Lamb, who goes around and look, he's looking for a fight. But he goes to Dearborn, which is the town that's now overpopulated with Muslims. They've taken control of the city council, they've taken control of the police departments, they've taken control of the mayorship. And they're blasting calls to prayer at 5 a.m. from the top of mosques, and they're closing down streets to pray in the middle of the day, causing everybody an inconvenience. Now, it's very clear that they're doing this because they're trying to conquer that culture. They don't do this shit where they sit in the street and pray in their home countries. It's not a thing. These giant marches, these giant festivals where they're coming through and intentionally trying to intimidate and state that we are the dominant force here is not by accident. Similarly, again, I can't remember if this was in Germany or the UK or Austria. There's a ton of videos out there you can watch that are documenting this. These Muslims are marching on the Christmas festivals, these Christmas setups, these little Christmas villages, which when you think Christmas village, by the way, let me say exactly what these are, because we don't have them as much here in America. They are streets and parks that are lined with little booths. It looks gorgeous, little wooden huts they set up, and people sell hot chocolate or spiced wine, trinkets, ornaments, whatever, you name it, they've gotten it. They set this up, this beautiful environment for people to come, have a drink, walk around, shop, enjoy the season. These Muslim immigrants are marching through these Christmas villages in mass, hundreds of them, chanting Allahu Akbar and doing all their chest slapping shit that they do and blaring the Quran and, intentionally trying to overrun the domestic culture's events. If you want to talk about a legitimate war on Christmas, you're seeing it. And not in the way that we're taking Christmas trees out of shopping malls, in the way that they are trying to eliminate these Christmas marketplaces from being set up. They're trying to eliminate the domestic culture, the natural native culture there. And now I know, I'll get people going, well, it's not native because they conquered that land. Well, yeah, it's native after a while, because if you're there for 200, 300, 400 years, celebrating that native culture, that same culture, it becomes your native culture. They are trying to make Islam the native culture. And because of what now is being referred to as suicidal empathy, you've got these, leftists that are looking for diversity, excusing this behavior, not cracking down on it, not saying, no, you're not allowed to go and march through here. Maybe if you get a predetermined certificate to march through this public space and hold your demonstration, just the way you're supposed to be doing these things, if you're just having a quote unquote peaceful march, if you're not taking those steps and you're intentionally coming through an established event to try to dominate it, you need to crack down. But they won't. They'll say, well, no, they're not doing anything wrong. They're just showing their faith. Well, okay, but you know what? They're being fucking conquering assholes. They are doing it trying to look for a fight. They're doing it to to drive into the minds of the population that you have already been conquered. And the way these governments are reacting and these local populations are reacting is to say, you've already won. If you allow them to do this, if you allow them to dominate your local event, especially one that's so close to so many people's hearts, their religion, right? Wars have been fought over religion. They will continue to be fought over religion. And I honestly predict that you're going to see a further war over religion coming very soon in these nations, because people are going to hit a wall where they can't take it anymore. But if you permit this as a government, you are fostering civil war. So now, by allowing these people to show dominance and not taking the steps, you're now getting it to the point where you're setting up a clash. You have to step in. You have to say, you're not permitted to come in and override what we hold precious. You're not allowed to come in and override our celebrations with yours and disrupt by your hecklers' vetoes a source of joy for so many people that also, by the way, these local cities are spending tons of money on. I mean, it's not cheap to set up these villages, to maintain them, to store them, to run them. And now on top of that, you have to provide security. You have to put up barriers in the way of the Christmas marketplaces so that people don't plow through them, which has happened in the past. And guess who's doing it? Of course, it's the people that are celebrating Islam. It's the Muslims that are coming in, these immigrants that are coming in, who do not acknowledge your religion as being valid. They will tell you this with their own mouths. I mean, it's in the scriptures. You're not even required to respect anybody or view them as a human being if they are not Islamic. You see this also playing out in the way these people are going around with the rape gangs and the grooming gangs in the UK and other European nations, where they go, well, this is normal at home because women are not valued in that society, where you're allowed to go and set up kidnap 14-year-olds and turn them into sex slaves because they're not considered people and men can do whatever they want. I mean, the number of videos I've seen of these immigrants go, well, I didn't know I couldn't molest a 14-year-old girl in the middle of the street and try to rape her because that's okay in my culture. Well, it's not okay here. You have to be dominant and say this cannot be permitted. Christmas markets must be permitted to function. People should not be living in fear because of a mass immigration policy that these fucking leftists put into place to welcome all these people in from countries, and then they don't send them back. They don't mass deport them again. They don't get them out of here. In the UK, you're seeing hotels filled with immigrants, literally with homeless UK citizens sleeping on the streets in sleeping bags. Meanwhile, these people are getting 4-star hotels, full meals, spending cards, free cell phones. It's insane. I mean, this is a clear intent to undermine and disrupt cultures that exist in these nations. And this, if we want to go down the globalist philosophy, the globalist conspiracy theory hole here, this is all by intent, because the more you can destabilize a local culture, the less chance there is of them rejecting you and your goals and your missions. The more that you've got people in a community that trust each other, that have a common bond, well, those people are going to stick together. Those people will now say, we have to fight against the global interest to keep our culture strong. But they've been doing it so insidiously, just slowly piping in these things, piping in these people, piping them in every single day, taking in tens of thousands of immigrants a month, all of the same ilk and all who do not want to acculturate. This is the issue with mass migration and open borders, frankly, is that if you allow this to happen, you are putting your culture on the chopping block. You are saying, we don't give a shit to protect our culture anymore. And what happens is people like this will come in who have a far more aggressive temperament, a far less forgiving religious philosophy. As I mentioned, Islam is, we will come in and conquer you, and that's that. You'll be forced to become Islamic, or we will put you to death. I mean, you could find 50 different imams talking about this exact thing. The war on Christmas is an indicator of a far larger war that is imminent and that is honestly hungered for from these people. God, it's really pissing me off that I said one thing to like go vertical by accident in StreamYard, and now it just, well, whatever. So anyway, keep your eye on the war on Christmas, guys, because you're going to see a lot more of this, a lot more of these Muslim protests coming through. Again, imagine that. Imagine a Western society going through a Diwali celebration or going through a all Quds Day, QUDs Day celebration held by immigrant populations. Imagine going through and hosting that march and how that would go over. And we don't do it because we're far more tolerant. These people are not tolerant. They're showing who they are to you, and it cannot go forward. It cannot be tolerated. I mean, it's like I said earlier, if you don't have your eyes open on this and see what's happening in front of your face, you are just in willful ignorance, Patton Oswalt style, to completely have your consciousness and your understanding of reality obliterated. Okay, so speaking of Patton Oswalt, I do want to share this video, which is just so insane. So Patton Oswalt was on Bill Maher's show, and it was fascinating to behold, because Bill Maher essentially told Patton very simple things, which Patton Oswalt had no clue about. Zero idea they were going on. Zero idea that they were even possible. How great. I've lost my window. Let me open up another window with my links here. Zero idea these things were even possible, that they were going on, including the trans rights issue, people, changing a child's sex in school without the parents' knowledge, calling them by their new name, assisting with X, Y, and Z. But on top of that, you'll see, God damn it, I swear to God. Apologies, guys. I am just not with it today. Okay, so here's one clip I'll share with you of Patton Oswalt knowing absolutely nothing. And this is one of many. You've seen a lot of these clips floating around. This is just one. Here we go. All right, so here's Billy Maher talking to Patton.
It's like just a lot of
all right,
violence.
Apologies. Let me start it over. I cannot get my shit. Apologies, guys.
What's going on in England right now is a lot of that. I mean, like,
what's going on in England?
Again, not in the bubble.
Okay, well,
doesn't get in the bubble.
Don't wait a minute. Just
it really doesn't. It's a big. I don't even want to start with it, but
okay.
It's like just a lot of violence, protests, immigration, cities that Andrew Sullivan, for example, says are places that my grandfather would not even recognize anymore as British. Like, immigration is great.
Yeah.
Anything can be too much. And it is becoming Islamicized, to put it briefly.
Anything can be too much, but a lot of times the way that things are framed and represented is also amplified so that they can make their point.
But like, do you know about the what do they call it when they get kids to grooming, the grooming scandal?
No.
See, that's a big story.
This is in the UK.
Yes, that went on from like the 80s to the present, and it wasn't.
You're talking about the royal family.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about Pakistani men who were immigrants who were grooming poor, impoverished white girls, mostly in these things, and making them into prostitutes and sex slaves and like really nasty shit that would pass for more normal in a traditional Pakistani society where women are not considered equal citizens. And if you don't understand that, and that gender apartheid is the #1 issue that you woke people should be concerned with but seem not to be, then right away we're not really seeing the world as the same way. And I think I'm seeing it much more clearly.
Yeah, but
gender apartheid should be your #1 issue. If you really care about oppression, like a lot, I'm talking about hundreds of millions of the world's women. And it's mostly because of the tenets of Islam, to be perfectly honest about it. And this is what's going on in England. And this is why England is having a big problem these days. Because in the interest of DEI, they are allowing practices that are so illiberal, which is the great irony. This is the least liberal thing you could be, is treating women as a second-class citizen and getting away with shit like this.
Okay, there you go. So this was one example of many in this program with Patton, where, as Bill Maher said it, he's in the bubble. Patton had never heard these things. He has no idea because MSNBC, now Ms. Now, isn't covering him. He's on Blue Sky. And Patton's like, oh, I'm on Twitter too. Okay, well, your algorithm is feeding you a completely different version of reality that simply doesn't exist. And like I mentioned, this is the in regarding the Islamicism. There was the other topic I mentioned talking about trans rights, which I saw where Bill had told him, look, in California, and this was true, in California, your birth certificate didn't have to have a gender on it. You could wait till later to say, oh, okay, we'll see what this kid turns out to be. And Patton is saying, oh, well, no, well, we always believed in the science. And Bill slaps him down on that as well, talking about COVID, talking about all these completely unscientific points of view, which people like Patton Oswalt, who will scream to the heavens and call people Nazis online and tell all his liberal friends of the way it's supposed to be and deny reality because they simply don't know. And anything they hear to the contrary, they'll write off and go, well, that can't be true. That's too crazy. But it is true. These things are happening right in front of your faces. And it kind of reminds me, too, you see Patton Oswalt here, the absolute ignorant left, the intolerant, ignorant left. Another example of this, which I meant to talk about last show before I had to cancel it, is Zendaya going out there and saying that she doesn't want to be on screen with Sydney Sweeney because Sydney Sweeney is somehow a LGBTQ hating bigot, and that she has conservative views that Zendaya doesn't agree with. Now, I don't even know Sydney Sweeney's views. Sydney Sweeney basically said, yeah, I'm more conservative. That doesn't mean you know her views on anything. She could be a conservative, people would label me a conservative when I'm a libertarian because I don't agree with mass migration policies and I don't agree with transing children. And I don't think that the COVID vaccines were effective and people shouldn't have been forced to take them. These are not leftist, these are not conservative views. These are simply logic-based conclusions, seeing what's in front of your face. But the bubble these fucking people live in is so thick. It's like living in an igloo. You've got your little fire in there so you stay warm with all your other Eskimo buddies, but you can't see what's outside. There's a tiny hole you go in and out of, and the ice is so thick around you in your little bubble that you can't see anything. And if you go outside your bubble where there's polar bears out there. So I better stick inside my little igloo with safe by my fire and my friends and not question what reality exists outside of this space. I mean, it's despicable. And it also showcases, Oswald's idiotic sentiments, Zendaya saying she doesn't want to work or be on screen with Sydney Sweeney. It showcases the blacklisting that still exists in the left, that exists in Hollywood, that exists in all of these different places where these people just don't know what they're talking about. And if they think you disagree, not even if they know, not even if they've heard you say something, but if you don't purely adhere to their worldview, they will try to ruin you. Zendaya saying she doesn't want to work with Sydney Sweeney is Zendaya trying to ruin Sydney Sweeney's fucking career. Patton Oswalt attacking people on Twitter as Nazis is him trying to ruin people's livelihoods and lives, even though he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's just, thank God for Bill Maher, talking to these people. I appreciate Patton Oswalt sitting down with him and proving himself to be a fucking buffoon because it hopefully will wake some people up. What is it? Ryan, whatever his name, the guy that was Dwight on The Office has actually been outspoken about this too. And it's been great to see it. He's been out there on some very popular podcasts as well, saying, look, this is nutty. You guys aren't living in reality. All this crap I think, especially on COVID, he's been really good. Saying, this is nuts. You're adhering to a worldview that is purely based in propaganda. It's fabricated. And you have to at least on some level open your mind up to the fact that you could be wrong and that you could be the bad guy here. But they will never, ever do it. Okay. Last thing. Well, two more things. So about Epstein files. They voted awesome, overwhelmingly in the House. It passed the Senate. Now Trump's got to sign it. Now Trump's flip-flopped on this, of course. We were told that first, these files were the biggest thing ever, and they had to be released. Then we were told that these files were nothing and didn't exist. Then we were told that these were propaganda like Russiagate. And now, finally, thanks to Thomas Massey, and I think actually, was it Ro Khanna? No, it wasn't Ro Khanna. It was some really far leftist Muslim, Islamic, as it were, senator or House member. But they brought this vote to the floor and passed with one dissenter. One guy, I think it's some really pro-Israel honk voted against it, which is hilarious. This guy, and I'm blanking on his name, but he had said that if he had to choose between his wife and Israel, he had a hard time choosing. So anyway, sorry guys, I'm on muscle relaxers right now, so thinking is very difficult. Try to get my back situation fixed here. So this got passed. It's on Trump's desk. I presume he'll sign it. If he didn't sign it now, it would go over so badly with everybody. Even the paid cat turds of the world would have to say, Donald Trump, what are you doing? Presuming the Epstein files get signed and get released, it'll be fascinating to see what names are on there. We know that there's some bad names on there because Mike Johnson was out there saying, well, these are classified documents. We have to make sure that we watch out and protect people. And there will be a context of, well, we have to protect individuals and people from public knowledge of their involvement in this, if they're innocent victims. That is the Trojan horse to redact everything. As I said in this episode title, the Great Redaction is what we're going to be looking at, because Mike Johnson and others, the CIA, the NSA, they have acknowledged that there is damaging information within those files to national security. Now, if Epstein was simply some man about town, as we're supposed to believe, that was, financially wealthy and just networking everybody in, there shouldn't be anything in there that should be sensitive to national security, should there? There shouldn't be any ties to the Mossad in Israel. And we know that Jeffrey Epstein also had an Israeli passport and dual citizenship. So there shouldn't be anything in there, right, to incriminate us if this is simply a guy that's a businessman. Well, the fact that these CIA and NSA and other three-letter organizations have acknowledged that, yes, there's content in these files that can be damaging, directly to me indicates that people involved in the highest levels of government are complicit in whatever went on his little island and on his trips and on his planes. This document has zero chance of not being blacked out except for the A's, the I's, and the thes. It's going to be ridiculous to see, because they know it could cause potentially a legitimate uprising in the United States. If these files came out and proved what everybody thought, which is that Epstein was running a ring where he was, shopping people out to bang girls, whether they were legal age or not girls, if this was happening, if these power players were behind the scenes, taking money, giving money, having private parties, doing all this shit that we suspect they're doing, it would completely tear down public confidence further than it's ever been, and potentially cause us to rise up and demand change, openly revolt against the system. So good luck trying to get those files in any readable format. I mean, good luck. We already saw some of these leaked files. They blank out victim's name, the ones that the Democrats leaked about Trump, saying that, Epstein saying that he was involved and he was with victim. We don't know what victim was. To put that in there is, again, pure propaganda, not to defend Trump in this. If he's involved in this circle of things, and Virginia Giuffre or Giuffre, or whatever you say her name is, said that he was not. Specifically, she said he was not. But even if he was, I'm not trying to defend the man, but the documents leaked to me certainly indicate nothing, because victim could be anyone. It could be of any age. It could be a suspected, prostitute that Donald Trump had sex with on the plane. We just don't know. But that's the point, is that we'll never know. They're never going to permit this to happen. They're never going to permit these files to come out and tell us even a shred of evidence, because the littlest bit that gets out could cause a cascade of circumstances where people just say, this proves everything. These people en masse, all of these fuckers got to go, except for Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. Okay, last thing on this very disjointed, drug-addled brain show is that I thought this was a very, very interesting tidbit, because Donald Trump has gone after Marjorie Taylor Greene and accused her of being a traitor. Of course, who hasn't he accused of being a traitor? And his paid idiot cadre, like Cat Turd, as I mentioned, or Insurrection Barbie. But Marjorie Taylor Greene's not taking it lying down. And I really loved this little clip to finish the show off. All right, let me play MTG here. God, I'm so bad at this today.
By fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me.
Yeah, there you go. Shots fired by Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling Donald Trump a traitor. And, you know, Trump's attacks on people like Thomas Massie, which was an underhandedly despicable attack. When Thomas Massie got remarried, Donald Trump had a really shitty tweet about him and his new marriage, which was just underhanded, disgusting behavior. But Donald Trump has a penchant for doing this, right? You disagree with him on one thing and he attacks you. Meanwhile, he'll prop up Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, who is, in my opinion, a traitor to the country, who is one of the worst proprietors of neocon philosophy, of wasting our money, of absolute murder of innocents. He'll prop that piece of shit up, but then attack people who are actually taking a legitimate stand for the benefit and for the good of the country. Now, again, we'll see what actually shakes out in these files. We'll see what we get to find out. We'll see if there was a big nothing burger behind it or not. But the fact that Donald Trump's calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor, because she's trying to push this through is astounding. I mean, that's astounding. The only way she could be a traitor is if there are, in fact, the deepest, darkest secrets in these files that would harm America and its national security interests, because it would showcase how indebted, how dependent on, let's say, Israel's Mossad blackmailing operations we are for so many of the things that happen within our government, or that we are personally involved in blackmailing people. So I guess, yeah, she'd be a traitor to the government. But let's not forget, being a traitor to your government is being a patriot. Because if your government is oppressing you, if your government has its boot on your neck, if your government isn't doing what it's promised to do, which is protect your rights and keep you safe and keep your money safe and keep you from harm. And again, you know, I'd rather get rid of all of it. But if that's what the government's supposed to do, and it's not, like we're seeing with all of these countries that are rolling over for mass migration and Islamicism and, you know, not protecting their people from trans activists and embracing Antifa and not policing cities and allowing crime and violence to run rampant. If your government's not doing that and you fight against it, you are not a traitor. You are, in fact, a patriot. And Donald Trump seems to associate being a traitor towards not going along with what Donald Trump thinks. Sorry, Donald. You have some very, very unpatriotic, and some would say treasonous views and actions that you've taken while being president. And for you to come after the people that are doing their best to try to get us back on track is everything I need to know. All right, that's it, guys. I'm going to go take another muscle relaxer and lie on the floor, which is what you do when you're an old man and you mess your back up. Advice to everybody out there that's younger than me. Once you hit like 45, don't try anything new. Not a new workout. I did a new workout at the gym. Don't do it. Stick to what you know. Otherwise, you will be in a massive amount of pain. That's the more you know. All right. Thanks, guys. For me, Brian McWilliams from the Lions Liberty Network, and for Mean Age Daydream, keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. Later.